Welcome to the Odyssey Project. Today our focus is going to be on interpreting James chapter 2 verses 14 through 17. In our last segments we looked at the observation aspect of Bible study methods. Now we know with Bible study methods there are three major components. One is observation, what do we see? The second one is interpretation, what does it mean? And the third is application, how do we live it? And we focused on some things in the last segment on James chapter 2 verses 14 from observation. So we're going to jump in on interpreting the text. And we're going to look at the big idea of what James is conveying in verses 14 through 17. So let's just jump right in. Let's read it first. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? Now James imposes a question. So the argument we know right offhand is saving faith. This is the argument. Faith, saving. So the argument, let me just write the argument down here as we go. We're going to kind of read and interpret as we go. Hold on, let me erase this. This is what's at hand. Saving faith. This is the argument. This is the discussion. So let's keep our mind focused on that. This is how the Apostle James introduces his argument. What is good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? Now the argument is the full argument is saving faith, but in particular his argument is dealing with faith that has works and faith that does not have works. That does not have works. So James is saying, can you actually have saving faith in Christ Jesus and not have any works? Some people believe that. This is why James in his letter wrote it, because there are many people that believe you can be saved, but yet there is no works. Now, the question is, what kind of works that James is talking about? Well, let me help you out with that. There's a difference between positional transfer, meaning being positionally transferred because of your faith in Christ Jesus from the domain of darkness into God's glorious light. There is a positional transfer. Many people believe that. Many people hold fast to that. Let me just write that up here. Positional transfer. Let me make it even plainer to you. In Romans chapter 5, we see a positional transfer. We were under the headship of Adam, and those who have placed faith in Christ are now under the headship of Jesus Christ. So there was a positional transfer. But in the same chapter, in Romans chapter 5 and 6, there had to be something that took place in order for that transfer to take place. And that is a death had to take place. That's why when we read the scriptures that we died with Christ, that we can also be raised to the newness of life. He's talking about being raised spiritually, but we will one day also be raised physically. So the works that he's talking about is not just a positional transfer, but a transformation, a change. This is why for a man or human being or mankind, at the core of his heart, there is selfishness. The seed of man is selfishness, which is sin. So for man to have a transfer and a transformation, that has to change. And what James is saying is the type of works he's talking about is a inner change. We'll see this in a minute when we interpret the other verses. So we're going to put down here the works that James is talking about is, it'll all come together in a minute, that James is talking about is an inner we'll just use this word transformation. And the reason why transformation is so important is because if at the seat of man is selfishness, which is sin, something has to take place when they place faith in Christ for Christ to be at the center and at the seat of man. So there must be a transformation. We're going to see this in a minute. So what is the big idea here? Let's look at the big idea. What is James conveying? What is the big idea? Let's look at it again. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says, now the key thing is, here you got somebody who is saying one thing, but is doing something contrary to what he's saying, but does not have works. So what he's saying is, you say that you have faith in Christ, but your life is not evident of the faith that you say you have in Christ. Or you say that you have faith in Christ, but there is no inner change that shows that there is faith in Christ. And he gives an example of someone who says one thing, but their life and what they do is a reflection of something else. That's what the example is. The example is not a type of works that is external. The example is someone who is saying they have one thing or saying one thing, but is not producing what they're saying. Look at what he says. If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking daily food, and one of you say to them, look at what he's saying, go in peace, be warmed and filled. He's saying, he's making a declaration to be warmed and filled for a brother who is poorly clothed and is lacking daily food. This is the issue. There is a faith that produces something and a faith that produces nothing. And he says, be warm and be filled without giving them things needed for the body. He is saying one thing. He is declaring the thing that he is saying, but he has proven or provided no evidence for that which he is saying. Because this is his declaration. Be warm. That is a declaration that says, you go out, you be warm, you be filled. I am declaring to you that this will happen, but yet I have not done anything that shows the declaration that I have declared, if I'm making any sense to you all. If I tell a person to be warmed and yet do not provide something so that they may be warmed, if I tell them to be filled, but yet I have not provided something so that they may be filled, then what I'm saying is useless. I cannot tell someone to be warmed or be filled, and yet there is no evidence of them being warmed and being filled outside of what I just said. So if I tell you to be warmed and be filled, but yet you walk away still poorly clothed and lacking food, did what I say produce any evidence of truth in your life. Zero. That's what James is talking about. So also, and this lets us know that verse 15 was just an example. Faith by itself, meaning faith that does not produce something, is dead. So what is the big idea? Let's look at the big idea and let's move on. Faith, this is the big idea. Faith that does not reflect its genuineness through action. And that action comes from interchange is dead faith. Interchange. Let me just write that right here. Interchange. Faith that does not reflect its genuineness through interchange or action is dead faith. That is the big idea in verses 14 through 17. This is the Odyssey Project. You have a good evening. Bye-bye for now.